This happened to me long ago, but I can still recall that day as clear as day. It's a bit long, but I'll try to simplify as possible. When I was young, maybe Hink or Vits years of age, my family moved over to Hungary from the UK due to my father's job requirements. In the early 1990s, when the dissolution of the Soviet Union had turned the Socialist Republic to liberal democracy, allowing large corporations finally to enter the country and establish a foothold in the land of opportunities. My father was from one of those companies. We bought a large mansion-like house in Budapest. The house was large with choice rooms and a large front and backyard. I was told the house was considerably cheap compared to its large size. Our parents thought it was because the country was under communist rule that everything was so cheap. Few months had gone by and me and my sisters were getting settled in nicely. It was great having a huge backyard and school was fun. We were sent to one of those newly established American international schools, the ones that have Christian backings. Anyway, I was not really into religion and found the teachings of the Bible boring at most, but at least the hamburgers and pizzas were cheap. More weeks went by and we were now completely at home in our new house. But then things got weird really fast. I shared my room upstairs with my sister and we would talk ourselves to sleep every night. But one night we were both really tired from some vigorous backyard playing, so we fell asleep almost instantly that night. I was woken in the middle of the night looking for a glass of water. As I awoke, I took a glimpse towards my sister's bed that was on the other side of the room. Then I saw it. In the dark room on her bed, my sister was sitting up. I couldn't see her properly, only her shadowy silhouette. Before I could say anything to her, she lay back down. But it wasn't a normal laying down. She just slammed into her bed like you would when you're frustrated. Odd, I thought, but didn't give much thought to it. My need for a glass of water was a higher priority. But just before I got up from my bed, I saw her sit up again. She just sprung up. It was too weird and I froze. Then she slammed herself back down into the bed and then sprung up and again slammed down into her bed. Again and again. The bed shook, making squeaky noises every time she slammed into her bed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I just lay still in my bed looking at my sister's shadow just sit up and lay down again. I don't know how long it had been, seemed like hours, but she stopped. She sat there, very still. Dark silhouette now seemed even darker and black. Then she slowly turned her head towards my bed. So I shut my eyes as hard as I could, hoping that this was all a bad dream. Moments pass, and I muster the strength to open my eyes. I looked towards to my sister's bed and was met with a dark, blacked-out face fully turned towards me. Panic started to set in, my heart pounding mad, and I wanted to scream, but my mouth was frozen shut by fear. Cold sweat built up, and silence filled the room. Fear was overwhelming, and I couldn't stand it. I had to do something because I thought I would suffocate at this rate. I don't know where I got the strength to do so, but I rushed out of my bed and ran towards her. I came up to my sister so fast, but the next minute I saw my sister laying down in her bed, fast asleep, the dark shadow gone, like mist. I frantically shook her awake. My sister woke up to my cries and shaking, confused and still half asleep. I told her what I saw and that we should probably make our way to our parents' room, but my sister laughed it off, saying it's not funny and she doesn't believe in supernatural stories. I had no choice but to go back to bed, as I wasn't about to let anything happen to my little sister. That night, I couldn't sleep and watched my sister all through the night. Thankfully, nothing happened through the rest of that night, but I couldn't shake off that eerie feeling that something was amiss. After that night, everything seemed out of place. The house that we were comfortable to run around in didn't look the same. There was something about it that gave me the creeps, and soon I was nagging my parents to move out. Of course, they just shrugged it off and said I watched too much sci-fi and horror movies, and they were getting to my head. Days pass, and I was losing sight about the eerie feeling of the house. Life seemed to fall back into place, and I almost forgot about that incident, but they were far from over. I woke up one morning from screams by my mother, who just came out from her room that morning. She was looking at me. I was hanging from the side of the second-floor staircase, upside down like a bat. As soon as I came to my senses, my legs gave away, and I would have fell head first if not for my father, who had rushed out hearing my mother's screams. My father grabbed hold of my legs just as they were giving away. I was diagnosed of somnambulism, or sleepwalking. The doctor said it was common in children and attributed them to sleeplessness and nightmares. My parents banned me from watching horror movies or any kind of contents that may fuel my nightmares. But after that day, I kept on sleepwalking and every time would wake up hanging upside down from something. My parents were highly religious and became worried about it. Talk of exorcism and demonic possession were quickly brought up, and I remember a priest visited us not long after. The priest first visited our room. He was in there for a good hour or so and cautioned us not to enter until he deemed it safe. When he came out, there was an uneasy expression on his face. He started looking around and muttering something, maybe Latin, I wasn't sure. Then he eventually made his way downstairs again. Then he stopped and looked up. He was standing, looking up at the ceiling with a face expression that chilled me. Something about his expression just said supernatural. The ceiling was located right beneath where our room was. He then motioned my parents over and spoke to them for some time. My parents' faces turned white, and we all moved out and rented a hotel room that day. The next day, my parents hired construction workers to tear down the ceiling located under our bedroom. They found a small trap door in the ceiling, and when they opened it, they found a small bag of bones from some small animal, maybe chicken or something. But also inside the small compartment, there was a small doll made of the same bones from the bag, hanging by a small thread upside down. Needless to say, my parents sold the house and we moved out immediately. We stayed in Hungary for another year, and after that, returned to the UK. My parents' religious belief and faith had tripled after that. As for me, I had strayed alien to Christianity. I'm not an atheist, and I still believe in God and all, but churches make me uneasy for some reason. I stopped going when I entered college and never been to one ever since. But that incident in Hungary had stopped me from not believing altogether. Something supernatural walks among us on this plane of existence. I'm sure of that. My recent encounters also has led me to believe in the supernatural, but that is for another story. I found my son's notebook. I don't think me and my wife are safe. My son turned 14 recently. He used to be such a happy kid. He loved playing outside, playing video games, hanging out with his friends, just a completely normal preteen. I think he was around 12 or 13 when things started to change. He spent more time inside. Maybe he was playing video games, but I wouldn't know because he'd always be locked away inside his room. He started dressing in all black. I asked him why he didn't like his old superhero shirts anymore, and it broke my heart when his response was, "Superheroes are stupid," before shutting his door in my face. I talked to my wife about it, but I think she was in denial. "Boys will be boys," she said. "Everyone has to grow up at some point." It hurt to hear, mainly because part of me knew. I saw the warning signs, how he seemed to be attracted to darkness, how the light in his room never seemed to be on. It was always dirty in there. Empty energy drink cans, snack wrappers everywhere. I tried to look past it. I tried to believe that this was just a phase, but the black metal, angry, hate-filled music that always blasted from that room was enough to drive me to the brink of madness. I tried my best to ignore it, but he was disrupting our peace. I wanted to approach it in a helpful, positive way. I'd always ask if he'd care to join me on a walk in the park. Maybe we could catch a movie together. Hell, maybe we could even play catch in the backyard. He rejected every approach. It quite literally seemed like he hated me, hated us. Dinners were awkward and almost silent. We tried talking to him about school, but he was so avoidant. We found out why that was when report cards came in. He was failing nearly every single class. It caused a lot of arguments. If he failed, it meant we failed. And us failing is what I think caused a lot of the tension. We became more strict, set bedtimes, no video games until his schoolwork was done, no more energy drinks, and no more seclusion. We insisted on him spending more time with us, whether he liked it or not. We didn't know what it was that was causing this change in him, but I'd be damned if I was going to stand by and watch him slip further and further away. I couldn't stop thinking about who he used to be, that laugh that didn't seem to come around as often, those Christmas mornings where he looked at me and my wife with nothing but love and affection. That love seemed to turn to hatred after we tightened our grip on him, though. I wanted to blame it on hormones, but his hatefulness exceeded normal teenage angst. He started cursing at us, screaming until his vocal cords would tear. We even had a few physical altercations because I wasn't going to be disrespected in my own house. Grounding wouldn't work. He liked to be alone. It was like a reward to him. So instead, I made him do yard work, cut grass, weed whack, whatever I could think of. That's when I think something truly broke within him. He'd act cheerful, but his words were full of resentment. I can't wait for you to die so I can have the house. I wish you understood how much I truly hate you. When I turn 18, you two will never see me again. He said these things like he was discussing breakfast, like it was completely normal. At this point, my wife was starting to see what I saw. Every now and again, we'd catch him scribbling in a notebook. Anytime he saw us watching, he'd either put it away or groan and take it to his room with him. One night in particular, though, I woke up at around 2 in the morning. It felt like I was being watched, like my body knew. My eyes scanned the room, and there he was, standing in the corner of the room in front of our bed, watching us and scribbling in that notebook. "Go back to sleep, Daddy," he giggled. He hadn't called me that since he was Hing or Vates. It felt like there was a stack of cinder blocks on my chest. I asked what he was doing, and he didn't respond. I asked him to go back to bed, and he sighed like I was inconveniencing him and stomped out of the room. That night was the last straw. I intended to look into counseling as soon as I could the next day. I did what I promised myself I'd do and set up the appointment, but when I went to his room to tell him about it, I found the room empty. It smelled musty in there. The sheets were mangled and balled up on the bed. Trash littered the ground and his nightstand, but his desk was completely clean. On it rested that notebook he'd been scribbling in recently. I couldn't help myself. I had to know. I had to see what he was writing. I knew it was about us, but nothing could have prepared me for what I read. He detailed his plan to kill us. I don't even want to write what he said he'd do. It was graphic, it was gruesome, and it was in that same messy handwriting that he never seemed to grow out of. My jaw dropped more and more with each paragraph. My heart raced faster and faster. But before I could finish, I heard a toilet flushing in the hallway. I couldn't move. I was frozen in shock. I heard his black combat boots approaching. I heard the door push open. And I heard that giggle that I hadn't heard in what felt like years. It was malicious this time, more sinister. I couldn't face him. The notebook shook in my hands as I gripped it tighter and tighter. "Daddy," he whimpered, "aren't I a good writer?" They say death is the only thing we can't escape, but they never tell you that there are things in this world far worse than dying. Things that start with a simple food delivery and end with the complete shattering of your reality. A lot of people think delivering food is an easy, risk-free gig. I used to think so too, until I worked the late night shift. It wasn't my dream job, but it paid the bills and kept my head above water. It was a Wednesday night, raining heavily with a thick layer of fog rolling in. I got an order for a drop-off about 20 miles outside the city center. The GPS led me to a partially abandoned industrial park. It was dinner for one, and the delivery instructions were weirdly specific. Leave the order at the side door. Do not knock or wait for a response. Just put the food down and walk away. The address belonged to a 2-story building that looked like an old chemical warehouse converted into cheap housing. When I pulled up, the place was pitch black. save for a single flickering street lamp casting eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. I won't lie, a heavy knot of dread formed in my stomach. The silence was deafening. Honestly, if someone killed you right there, no one would ever find your body. I parked, killed the engine, but left the headlights on so I could see where I was going, and grabbed the food. I walked up to the side door, the rain washing over the street in a strange, suffocating silence. I quickly set the bag down, but just as I turned to leave, I heard the deadbolt click open from the inside. I didn't look back. I stuck to the instructions and fast walked toward my car. Still, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I could feel eyes burning into me from behind the dark glass of that door. Suddenly, a man's voice called out my first name, loud and clear. "Joe!" I froze. My name is on my work badge, sure, but he couldn't have possibly seen it in the dark from that distance. I turned around slowly. Standing in the doorway was a man in ragged clothes. I couldn't make out his face, but I could clearly see what he was holding. My phone. I had absent-mindedly left it on the roof of my car when I grabbed the food bag. He wasn't holding a weapon. Instead, he just smiled and said, "You dropped this. Don't you want it back?" My heart was pounding out of my chest. I took a step toward my car, but he stepped out into the rain, walking toward me with this terrifyingly calm confidence, like he already knew I wasn't going anywhere. "Keep it. I'm leaving," I said, my voice shaking. He didn't stop. Instead, he looked down at the glowing screen of my phone and began reading my lock screen notifications aloud. They were texts from my sister about her medical condition, along with a notification showing my home address. In that split second, I realized this guy wasn't just some random thief. He had been planning this. I sprinted to the driver's side, yanked the door open, slammed it shut, and hit the locks. I frantically reached for the ignition, but my keys were gone. He had snatched them from the ignition while I was dropping off the food. Before I could even process that, the man was standing right outside my passenger window. He pressed my phone against the wet glass, then slowly pointed a finger toward the back seat. I turned my head. My tool bag was unzipped. Lying on the floorboard was my spare car key, sitting right next to a box cutter. A wave of pure nausea hit me. He had been inside my car the entire time I was at the door. I looked back at him. Under the flickering streetlight, his face was finally clear. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like a completely ordinary guy, a neighbor, a coworker, someone you'd pass at a gas station. That was the most terrifying part. He didn't yell. He didn't try to smash the window. He just looked at me with dead eyes and said softly through the glass, "You don't deserve this life." Then he turned around and vanished into the darkness of the complex. He left me trapped in a dead car with no cell service in the middle of nowhere. I spent hours locked in that car, freezing and jumping at every drop of rain that hit the roof. I tried hot wiring the car, only to realize he had popped the hood and cleanly sliced the battery cables. Sometime near dawn, I saw the headlights of a police cruiser slowly rolling down the main road. I felt a massive wave of relief. I jumped out of the car, waving my arms like a maniac and screaming for help. But the fog was so thick, the cop didn't even tap his brakes. The cruiser just rolled right past. I realized then that I was entirely on my own in a dumping ground where people go to settle scores. I couldn't stay there. I abandoned my car and walked for hours along the side of the highway, constantly looking over my shoulder until I finally reached a dingy gas station. When I told the local cop there what happened, he looked at me like I was a ghost. He told me that industrial park was one of the most dangerous red zones in the county, a place where they regularly found bodies stripped of their organs. Shaking and starving, I went to the station's convenience store to grab something to eat. I grabbed a sandwich and went to the counter. I reached into my jacket pocket to pull out my wallet, but my fingers brushed against a small, folded piece of paper. I didn't put it there. I pulled it out and unfolded it. Written in hurried handwriting were the words, "Joe, you came to the wrong place at the wrong time." This was a warning. My blood ran ice cold. He had slipped it into my pocket while I was standing outside the car, I haven't been back to that side of town since that night. I never leave my car doors unlocked, not even for a second, and I instantly decline any orders going to isolated areas. But the paranoia never left me. Every time I see an ordinary-looking man walking down the street, I can't help but wonder, is it him? And will there come a day when I look in my rearview mirror only to find my keys lying in the back seat again? Since that night, the fear hasn't stopped following me. It's in every shadow, every dark street, and in every single moment I find myself alone.